Oh, good.
back.
Okay.
And I think as a recap for anyone listening, we had a retreat on this. We had study session. We got some main questions to answer. Attorney went and wrote a full ordinance, which is in the packet, and now we're here to look at this ordinance and see if we're good to move it forward to business.
Sure. So the things that kind of went over at the last study session were to get direction from council on where you wanted me to go with drafting this. And for example, last study session we talked about whether it was going to be a race equity advisory commission or a diversity, equity, and inclusion advisory commission or something other than limited to race. The majority of the council at that time said that it should be race focused, so that's what I drafted. We talked about compensation. I think at this point the majority of the council decided no compensation at this point. We talked about residency requirements. We talked about whether the duties would be outlined specifically or generally. And then we also had a discussion about whether the committee would accept public comment or not. And that was one of the kind of assignments that I had to research. And I did my own research, and then I actually asked MRSC for an opinion as well. And it is that if public comment is accepted either in written or in oral form by an advisory committee, it does then bring it under the committee. And so I think Quinn had spoken to, there's the risk analysis for being subject to the OPMA for the committee members, but there was also some functional, like the committee itself had, when it was the council committee, talked about feeling constrained by that. So if the council does not want the committee to be subject to the OPMA, it's best that it just stay an advisory committee only, that it not accept public comment, and that if citizen community members want to make comments related to the activities of the committee, certainly they can be directed to make those to the administration of the council emails that people are already making them to. And so it's still a public input, but that's where that is on that. But I know that right now we're not addressing that with other committees. This is the first committee I'm creating or being a part of. Commission, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
They're really similar under our code.
They're big, important difference.
Mm-hmm. So the if we go back and revise those, we'll probably be addressing these issues specifically. I think it's important. But this is what we have now, and let me know if you have any questions. I feel like I've talked about this one quite a bit, so I don't know that I need to go over everything again. Eric?
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, I already kicked us off.
Okay, so given that, and remembering what Quinn was saying about how important it is for the public to be able to ask questions, and we're kind of settling on, well, they could put it in writing, but kind of nix that. I say let them be subject to OPMA and take comments, and maybe keep it as writing comments, or maybe leave it up to committee, but they have to understand then you violate OPMA, it comes out of your pocket.
It does.
Okay, and so then there needs to be training. But I'm sorry.
No.
I want them to be able to have this isn't a threat. This is like, I want to give you because this committee needs to have public, right? I believe it does. I believe it does. And so then if you want public comment, and then actually when this committee meets, they can decide if they want to have public comment or not. Can you word it that way? So put it in there. If the committee decides they want to accept public comment, I assume they will, be advised that whatever, they're subject to OPMA. Just put it in the language.
I can't write it that way. I didn't want to write it that way.
I know, but
okay,
sure.
just that, I wanted the council to make that decision about whether they wanted, you know, we absolutely, it is on that individual person. But as far as the penalty, the attorney fee provision, assuming that the people were acting in the course or in good faith, would most likely be formed by the city. And so the $500 penalties are, you know, yeah, it's not saying that's nothing. And of course, it's for violation. I think someone recently got hit with like $5,000.
With me?
No, not here. The attorney fees, their actual.
So I do see your point, because then it'd be like, because we're not giving them city emails. Anything that was sent to them becomes a public record, and if they can't produce it, that could be an issue, and the city would be culpable for that.
Right, and that those are not things that are covered under our insurance either. And so as the.
I retract that then, but that really, I'm not sure this thing is gonna serve a useful purpose. I'm sorry, but maybe it will. And then the other thing is just, I had asked the question about why are we allowing non-residents of Bremerton on the committee? And if I recall correctly, it was explained, well, there's one person on the committee that lives right across the street. I'm sorry, but this is not about one person. This is setting up a commission for arguably in perpetuity, and you don't do that. So remember, I'm being districted out. I didn't petition the council, say, hey, look, I'm on the council, let's just move the street over. I accept it happened. It is what it is. You cannot consider the individual. That needs to be stricken. I don't even know who it is. It's not a personal vendetta. It is, this is what it should be. It should be a resident of the city of Bremerton, like all our other committees. And that's the way it should be. So that one, and then I guess we'll go with your suggestions and no public comment, which is tough.
Right. Well, and I guess I want to say that, like, it's not so much that if we do public comment, and I just want everyone to know what the ramifications are, and that I think for the people who were on the committee last year, there was a lot of desire on the part of the people who were on the committee for it not to be subject to OPMA. So it's not just the liability. They actually did not want it to be subject to, and that was a very persistent.
Okay, so I think that topic was confusing to the group to understand. And I apologize for Gordon when you talked. You know what I was actually thinking about, and Director Elevato knows, because when I was on the Arts Commission, none of us were like, we did not understand OPMA. So to wrangle us, to get us to understand it, right? Like, that's what I was actually groaning about, and that's why I apologize for not doing your comment. The desire was to have people be able to give their feedback on an issue. But what they also wanted to do, which here's the problem, you can't do that. You can't have public comment and work. What they really wanted to do is have smaller working groups, so that if they were concerned about breaking quorum in small working groups, right? So that was the issue with the OPMA. They did like the public comment, even the really crappy people that would show up and say negative stuff, like whatever. But there was a lot of people.
Well, I would say, so let's retract maybe crappy.
Yeah.
Just say people with differing
Strong difference.
Sometimes people come to public comment and they say inappropriate things, y'all.
Beauty of the First Amendment.
Okay, I'm gonna say then they use potty mouth language, and which is kind of crappy. We're at the end of our day, so I just wanted to clarify that point for you, which was they liked the public comment, but they also wanted to be able to have working groups. Now, this is not necessarily what a commission is going to be. I definitely agree at this point in time that to wrangle new people, that it would be difficult to train them on OPMA as, you know, like new commissioners or new commission.
So I'm going to suggest this has a lot of moving pieces to it. Let's do a round. So Eric, you touched on the public comment side. Let me see these other, specifically on the public comments and OPMA, and then go to the other moving parts. rehash. So, and then I'm gonna, I'm sorry, I had her hand up way back when, but then I'll go on to then Michael.
A, exempt from OPMA. B, I agree with Eric, since there's nothing we can do about unincorporated Kitsap County. I agree that that,
OPMA for now.
yeah, that should be struck. See, I got them both out. I'm all done.
Snuck it in, all right.
I'm sorry.
Michael.
So, yeah, I was on, thinking no public comment, but if somebody has a comment for the city about race equity, they can address it to the mayor. They could address it to a new diversity, equity, inclusion manager. And then they can then turn to the commission and say, hey, we have something brewing, there's some concern. And right, there's nothing that would stop that.
Right.
So, yeah. Again, like it says, it's to serve us. Kind of like we asked the audit committee to audit something. We ask this commission to look for the things, and we will be hearing that from the general public.
Sure, so like, I guess as an example, the council has received, feedback in the past about the recruitment process for vacancies, correct? And that it was not, the recruitment was done in a way that wasn't inclusive and that might have, limited the number of applicants to people who were kind of connected, right? And then, so let's say the council gets those comments, right? And you know, you can certainly talk about them amongst yourselves and do a study session and all that kind of stuff. We have this commission, you could also say, hey, we would like some advice on this. You know, so if there's someone from council, you know, the council president contacted the chair and say, and we've got these comments, council, you know, you would talk about it first as a group that you wanted the commission to do it, and then you would submit it, kind of like how the audit committee. So that's how I see that working. Is that similar to how you guys see it working?
I'll jump in and say, unless you share anything, that, yeah, so we're going to clarify, if they are subject to public comment on OPMA, then they really can't meet as a whole group. They can't go to Starbucks and have 5 people around the table and chat. Is that right?
So,
or without notice?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
no,
I got it
so
right.
there's a couple things. Even our charter has the requirement that all meetings be open to the public. Okay, so if they ask me if they could do that, then I would say no. Okay, it's that if they do that and then it doesn't, if you're not subject to OPMA and you're just subject to the charter, our charter doesn't have a $500 per occurrence penalty provision, as well as the what acts as incentive for people to bring lawsuits. It's the attorney fee provision, and that you can bring them without having to, you know, pay the upfront cost. And some lawyers will take those, you know, when they see one that's easy, because they know they're going to get their fees. And so it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to meet outside of a public setting. The work of the committee is going to be done in the public.
Okay.
It just means that there's not going to be the same type of monetary consequences for not doing so than if it was subject to OPMA. So if that changes the analysis, certainly.
I'll just say I personally feel comfortable not allowing public comment, knowing kind of 2 things. One, that I would expect the people appointed to the commission to be folks that are connected in the community, that are, you know, have roots and know people and can go out and get input. You know, if stuff comes up, that's kind of 1. And 2, I think to Michael's point that folks can always submit public comment to us, to the mayor, on any item, anything they're discussing, anything public works committee discussing, anything the planning commission discussing, it can come, you know, to us. So I feel like there is still an avenue for folks to give input.
Sure. I suspect that part of the reason that people will be selected to be on the committee is that they have the connections with the, you know, community to share and things like that. We're certainly not going to ask if they do plan of action or something and not talk to people. It's just going to be whether a part of their meeting is going to be opening up the floor to have the public speak and have that moderated by a chair, and you know, whether there ends up being back and forth discourse, and then if you did it by written comment, you know, kind of my opinion and MRC's opinion was the same. Written comments lessen your First Amendment issues because you don't have, I mean, it's just a little bit more controlled, right? But you'd still be subject to.
Okay. I just want to say, but this can always be amended down the road based on, right, it's an ordinance, so just, yeah. Okay. So any other comments, questions specifically on OPMA and public comment, or do we have mostly a consensus to stick with no public comment for now in this ordinance?
Yes.
Another idea would be if the committee wanted to have, I guess, like to solicit public comment on something that, you know, through this couldn't do this for themselves. A thing that can be recommended would be that whatever that item is be put on a study session, and then the council kind of hosts as an agenda item, and then does the public comment. Basically, like bringing it up a level and say, instead of them getting public comment, bring it to say that, you know, we can't do this, but we're recommending that the council take this issue up and put it on a study session, whatever it may be.
I would just like to say thank you for getting us to third base here with this.
Mhm.
I feel like we're almost there, and I feel pretty comfortable with how you set it up, because I know that you're conscientious about taking our feedback, and I'm comfortable with it. I think you know how to protect the city's interests and also take people's comments into perspective. So thank you for that.
So then as written right now, oh, sorry, I should just double check on, okay, so we're okay with how it's written, or no, not okay, sorry, go ahead. As OPMA goes.
It's the 24.0020. That's the one where it opens it up to unincorporated Kitsap County.
That was the next I was gonna get to, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on that one, yeah, so as it's written right now, as you said, Bremerton address or unincorporated. So we're hearing and any other comments on?
Resident of the city of Bremerton.
Okay, we have
like
an
all
informal
the others.
proposal to change it just to Bremerton, if folks want to respond to that.
The perspective on that is it's under section 32, I believe, of our charter, states that being a resident is a requirement unless the ordinance states otherwise. So, for example, last year we amended our audit committee ordinance to clarify that the city auditor could be outside of the city limits, to reside outside the city limits, which I believe had been a practice, but it was a little unclear, so we made it more clear that it was okay. So the charter allows you to have the ordinance different than that, but the default and what is I'm not aware of any other communities that deviate from the normal.
Can I?
Commissions.
Well, it's the one, yeah. Okay, so you're saying that, yeah, so let's go one.
And I just want to bring
this.
some more clarity about other reasons why opening it up in this way would be a benefit to this commission. Okay. It has to do with sheer numbers of availability of people. Now, people who live across the street or 2 blocks down or 1 mile away, we're still under some of the same interlocal agreements for public safety, for instance. So they might be interacting, not necessarily with Kitsap, with Kitsap Sheriff, but maybe with Bremerton. A lot of folks with that address are probably going to be interacting in the city of Bremerton for work, for leisure, for church, things like that. And it opens up a population of folks that can serve on this commission that aren't necessarily, like, when you start to think about the hours that our committee meetings meet, and this is going to be probably an evening time, folks work different hours, okay? And so when you think about underrepresented populations, there are folks who have different types of work hours. And so it opens up the pool to people that are directly, in Bremerton and not necessarily in the city of Bremerton. But I mean, you think about the number, I don't even know what our population is right now. It's the end of a long night, but we have a small population in some categories of diversity. So I just want to throw that information out there and let y'all do what you want.
Like, or on this one?
I'm waiting.
I don't feel I've heard a compelling enough reason that we should open it up. If we run into this problem, we could make that exception. I don't know. I don't feel strong enough, go too hard for it, but it just seems like it makes sense to me that it should be Bremerton. County has a REAC, Bainbridge has a REAC, other cities are doing them. So like, it seems weird to have somebody, from anyways, but I hear you and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe clearer than you actually said. But,
Thank you, sir. Like I said, y'all are much better at this word stuff.
Did you say any comments on residency?
No, not on residency.
I'll say like, I
Said word stuff.
think I've changed my mind on this lately, because originally, oh,
What's happening?
Sandra, do you have something to jump in here with?
The planning commission allows it.
Okay. Oh, thanks. That's good information. Okay.
Oh, no. Another point of clarity.
So,
And she said it way better than me.
no, good. So I'm thinking about it. It's like, one, I appreciate, hey, the tax-paying citizens are paying city taxes because they're actually in city limits, should be able to serve. But I'm actually going to say out loud, I kind of feel like almost all commissions, committees should be open wider, because here's my thinking. If we open this up and, the mayor appoints someone to a commission or committee and says, oh yeah, they're from Walla Walla, right? Or even like, oh, they live and work in Bainbridge, but they want to tell what Bremerton what to do, right? One, I don't think this mayor or any mayor would do that in the first place. And second, council would be able to say on confirmation and go, wait a minute, they live in Bainbridge, do they have any ties to Bremerton? No, then no, we're not going to confirm them. So I feel like we could, by opening it up, to allow that case by case basis where you say this person's literally one, across the street outside city limits, or this person is nearby, but they live and work in, downtown all the time. And this could apply to almost any commission. So that's kind of where I'm at these days. I trust mayor and council enough to look at the person and know if they actually have ties to Bremerton or not.
there's a little language that I overheard from the
Planning commission has an exception if a qualified applicant that is a resident of the city can't be found. They can go out.
Okay, so
Everybody think about that language.
If, yeah,
Oh,
it's,
I
yeah,
like that.
yeah, if a person's not available. So.
Oh,
once again.
I don't
So
think
I'm not
planning
gonna do a
commission-
second round on that, just having
Yeah,
our
I
opinions
don't
out
think-
there.
I don't,
Yeah.
as planning commission, I don't think we've ever had anyone that I can.
Mhm.
had to do that. We've always had qualified applicants.
Yeah.
So I've always believed in, I'm a loss of words, but compromise, so I'm okay with that language put in there. If a qualified candidate cannot be found, I don't know if you say qualified because, well, there's not really technically a qualification to be on planning commission. Usually it's somebody, well, no, that's the design. That's when you need to have an architect, someone with educational background. The planning commission is just an interest.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Whatever.
Yeah,
Okay, but,
Right, I think it means that no one's applying to be on this commission. Like,
okay, as long as
there's
it's
no
not,
18-year-old city resident, right?
because that's kind of a, yeah.
Well-
As long as it's taking the right context.
So there could be reasons.
I do want to recognize that, yeah.
Well, basically, if you don't have the applicants. Because anyone's qualified if you're over 18 and a resident of Bremerton, we have to choose from that. But if we only have, if for whatever it says 5 to 9, and there's only 4 people that apply and you did the public outreach, okay, fine, then you can go outside the city. That would be the condition that would work. That would be your qualified. I don't like that word, but I understand what you're saying, but that would be the situation.
Let's let Anna jump in and then I have a response on that one.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Zach has been very patient.
So again, I don't think it's because I pay taxes here by gum, and therefore only people like me who pay taxes can be on this commission. I think it's really specific that there's nothing we can do about unincorporated Kitsap County. We can do things about the city of Bremerton, but we can't do anything. We can't put sidewalks to connect school kids to crosswalks. If that land lies in Kitsap County, there is nothing we can do. So I think that's why I'm suggesting this clause should be struck.
Say that somebody who lives just outside city limits and spends all their time, say downtown, may have comments specifically only about downtown, which we do have control over. 'Cause I don't know,
Well,
our
those
rebuttal, but
comments can be written to the committee.
yeah, fair enough. And then,
I'm thinking, can I just follow up?
yeah, sure.
So I'm thinking really about one of the people who gave public comment last week, who said that, he felt very connected to Bremerton, except he did not live here because the gangs had driven him out. And I feel that just because someone feels that they have a connection to Bremerton, it's like, are they living here? That's it.
I think of their application they'd have, yeah. And then quick other response to, before I forget it, sorry. What were we saying before the residency?
You're pointing at me.
Oh, the qualified, I know. The qualified part, there is a concern there, because I remember on audit committee, there was one application and, they lived in city limits, but I think when it said like, why do you want to be on this committee? The answer was literally, quote, I'm very smart. That's it. It said, how long have you lived in Bremerton? It was an application that was not, I'd call serious. So I do think we need to think about that in terms of, that's what I would call an unqualified application, but that language is good to nail down.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's part of the confirmation
Mhm.
process. I mean, I guess we don't have like a job description, so to speak, in here, but. I
Okay.
feel like this one's gonna be one that we're more likely to have people who want to be on it.
You're gonna have all kinds of people that are
Yeah,
gonna wanna be on it, so
yeah.
that's, makes me nervous.
I've been going all over the place, but I think I'm settling on, let's strike the language. And if it becomes a problem with finding folks, then we can make that change.
Fair enough.
Like we did with audit.
Mhm.
Hey, bravo. Okay,
I
are
mean,
we done? Can we put it on consent?
Wait, no, not there
Hey,
yet.
I've been waiting.
The
I'm
tough one,
sorry.
yeah. There are other items.
I'm sorry.
Are we not done yet?
No.
All right, one was there. All right, so it sounds like we have, again, unless Denise said you fall in that same.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
That's what
that
we gotta go.
covers all the concerns.
okay. So,
I am dying on this hill right now, just kidding. I mean, it is what it, no, it's fine.
no, I said my piece, yeah, but,
I'm just gonna take out that parenthetical.
okay, so we'll take out the parenthetical to go to, and gonna keep in mind, this will go to a general business. We'll talk about it in a bit, exactly the timeline, but, a good public comment, we could always rehash it. Okay. Any other comments on the ordinance as proposed topic, and then we'll go round about. Denise.
It was a close vote, 4-3 over the naming of it. And I've been thinking a lot about it this week, mainly after last week's council meeting. And I cannot be Denise Fry and not say something about history repeating itself over and over again with this kind of stuff. And that is, y'all know that I worked for the YWCA for many years. What you might not know is the YWCA started working in racial justice before it started working in women's issues. And that many suffragettes started out as abolitionists. And yet, when the 14th Amendment was being considered, it was decided to leave women behind. It was decided to leave women off of that because, and I'll quote, it was Frederick Douglass who said, it's the Negro's hour. And so it took women many, 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 many more years to gain the traction again, to bring that back. Do we still have it in Kitsap County? And I'm talking about sexism. Yes. I mean, I was just told a year ago that I was not going to get a promised raise because I had a wealthy boyfriend. I'm an executive. And I was told this in Kitsap County. If you asked women through the city, through the county, through whatever, we experience sexism every single day and usually don't even notice it. I notice it. And I feel sad. I want this commission to be successful. I really do. We can't afford it not to be successful with this. And it's a mayor's commission. The mayor's going to be working with this commission. And he's hiring a diversity, equity, and inclusion manager. And we're refusing to call this commission that. I think that's setting the stage for a lot of conflict between the council and the mayor, this committee and the mayor, or potential conflict that I really would like to avoid. And some people may say, and I'm not going to die on this sword. I will go along with what the group decides. I really will. But I need to be your resident feminist here and tell you, we have work to do. We have work to do. And I felt it last week in council. And I'm just going to come out there and say it. It was a very uncomfortable meeting for me. And it was gender-based discomfort. Whether that was shared by anybody else, I don't know. But I've got to call it what it is and say, we can pretend we don't have a problem with sexism. I actually was told by another council member at last week's meeting, leaned over and said, your predecessor is going to have words with you if you keep, fighting this race, equity. And I said, no, she won't, because she charged the city with sexism as well as racism. So how quickly we forget. I'm not saying that anybody means it. I'm saying that that's the way it happens. I'm just calling it as I see it because that's what I do. And I'll go along with whatever the council decides and be quite happy with it, actually.
Before Eric, I just you have a specific proposal for the title or any amendment, any.
I'd just rather it be whatever, we're calling it the diversity, equity, and inclusion position. That's not saying I don't think racism will.
But the title at the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission. Okay, I just wanted to, Eric.
Okay, so I think I was the deciding vote, 4-3 or whatever for race equity. So, I don't want to get into yesterday.
Yeah, let's keep it on the.
Keep your talking point. You said tonight, next Wednesday, I think you'll win everyone over. You won me over. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And change my mind. Okay? So that's what I would like. And if someone else is going to change their mind the other way, now we have the majority that wants diversity.
I'm going to speak out because this is kind of as I said last time. I was on the fence and still truly on the fence, and maybe it's worth going to public comment on because I appreciate everything you just said, and that was one of the reasons when I was on that fence, I said I'm going to go on this side of DEI. And I'm struggling here because I don't want this title to be the thing that holds it up from getting done. And I just want to throw out a couple options we could discuss because I was leaving as is, going the full DEI, doing something like Olympia with the Social Justice and Equity Committee title. I had mentioned that what they did was they did that title, and then the description they called out race as a prominent factor, and then also mentioned gender and other items. I say we could also go the other way, keep it titled Race Equity Advisory Commission, and then call out in the description of the group that is not, although that is the principal component, it's not limited to it. I just going to throw some options out there. I know this is definitely probably the toughest conversation in crafting this.
And why do we schedule these for the end of the evening?
Because it's me. Seriously.
No, it's really awkward.
Yeah, because I stay throughout the meeting, items that I'm on are always last.
Try and get an established staff.
I'm all
Yeah.
for you when you do that.
I just wonder if this is a little putting the cart before the horse. Could this be held for our DEI consultant and the program? Like, I don't know. I don't know if we'd be sitting on it too long. I just, and I don't know. It's interesting. I don't feel super strongly one way or the other. So, you know, I also feel I like to see a good majority on something anyways. I hate to see those kind of split stuff.
Mhm.
But I didn't, when I advocated for the race equity title, it's because those are the folks who came to us and asked for that. And I just wanted to honor that original request. And like I said, it is one of the hotter issues that we have to make some progress on.
Yeah.
But again, you know, if we're not to steal your consultant, but if there's somebody coming to advise the city on what would be best way to do that, could they answer one question for us? You know. Anyways.
And I worry that for me talking to folks at Split, I mean, it's so I don't mean if anyone wants to jump in, but as Eric kind of flipped, I kind of flipped actually more almost on keeping the race equity title. And I'll just say bluntly 2 reasons. One, there's been unfounded allegations that, the city disbanded, REAC, which, wasn't the case as we've discussed. It just didn't have the proper legal framework, which is what we're trying to create here. So in one sense, the continuity of keeping REAC to REAC, I think is really strong and showing no, he didn't disband it. And so for that kind of reason of keeping it there, adding language that they're not constrained, to make it clear, they're not constrained only to talk about race issues, they can talk about other things and then let them work on the title. But
I'd rather that not be the case.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
That would be,
I mean, because
that would be ridiculous.
We can't tell them what they
LGBT
talk about.
citizens.
Right, yeah.
There's women, there's folks who,
Everybody
feel
here
left
is,
out.
Oh, sorry.
everybody here is white. Everybody here is white. So like your version of diversity is watered down. So you cannot, in good conscience, not take public comment to make this decision. Okay. So you know where I sit on it. And I think that it's not fair that we just say feminism is one thing, because, and I super appreciate everything you said, Denise, except the part where you said it's Negroes Hour. You know what?
That's a quote.
Yes,
That's a
but
quote.
hold on. Let me just make my comment.
Go down the temperature. Yeah.
Black women got left behind, and Black women and other women of color continue to suffer the effects. Way worse than we have, way worse than we did. We've had our own struggles, okay? But having worked at the YWCA, who were the people that come in that have struggled the most and faced the most adversity, faced the most discrimination, faced the most, you know what I mean? Like it's about race. When we are able to analyze race, it takes care of everything. So I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated by this.
I think we do need professionals at the table. I have been a certified race relations trainer and coach. Granted, I'm white, but I've got more in common with let's not even go there. I don't believe in the hierarchy of oppression, and I've said that before. I don't think you can say that one person has it worse than another. I think we have to battle. I see everything's being connected. Everything's being connected, all the isms. And we have a horrible track record with race in this country, and we've got to do something about it. But I'm tired of being excluded.
Go on before that. So I just want to reiterate that, we will get public comment on this. We're just trying to see if we have consensus to put this agenda bill out there for public comment on a general study session, and we can talk about the option of doing a public feedback only at a general business meeting, or whether to, how to proceed forward.
I can also make it blank if you want me to put that into the agenda. and then, you know what I'm saying, like, and write it in the bill that right now, that there's not consensus right now.
So the only public comment on this that I'm aware of is from a single individual who was a former member of the Race Equity Advisory Committee. This is the Race Equity Advisory Commission. I completely agree with you, Denise. I feel that, although I gotta say that from everything I know, race is the most bitter. It's just cloud the back of your throat with tears. It's just that bitter. The Jews. Well, this I know about. There is inequity all over, and that's why I voted for the diversity, equity, and inclusion title, or social justice and equity. But we voted, and the majority of council wanted to call it the Race Equity Advisory Commission. Should we take this up in some other way? I am totally behind that.
I think the majority voted for race equity.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it
did.
wasn't like a real,
It was 4-3.
Just vote, and also.
It was a straw poll.
It was also not a vote, because we
You're
don't take
correct.
votes.
It was a
That's
straw
what we
poll.
do. This was just direction for me to draft something. But the final decision being made after we have a chance for public comment in compliance with OPMA.
Yeah, let's let the public comment happen.
That sounds good, because often when we have that public comment, we like hear things that just make us go, oh my gosh.
So,
So
I guess we could have it on just for public comment next week and listen. We could have it, and then, I mean, so that's an option.
Public hearing.
Or just to accept
No,
public
no
comment.
action, yeah.
Yeah. Without action anticipated, and then come back for another study session to kind of discuss what we heard. Or we can do it however you guys want. I'm just throwing out options.
if we say action is intended, real quick technical, can we then backpedal and go, actually, we're gonna have to discuss this some more?
And yeah, in any general item, we can, someone makes some,
Great,
one,
hold on, sorry.
nobody can make a motion, right? No, I think it's good to review this, because like, we take the public comment, no member of council may make a motion, I mean, that may happen, right? And go, okay, well, there's no motion, next item. Or there could be a motion or no second, or there could be a motion second, and then someone can come and say, I wanna,
Just like,
table
this
top
is
right
just
word,
for
but-
study
yeah.
session and kind of drafting purposes.
Mhm.
Like last study session, we were going one way, and now we're going a different way. And
we
that's
only have
fine.
6.
And
Yeah.
but we aren't making decisions until after we get public comment.
Correct.
So,
Great,
all I need to know about for next week would be, do you want me to take, these out where it says a creation of a blank advisory commission, or do you want me to leave it how it is right now, how it went out in this packet?
leave it.
Yeah. And then you guys will talk about, okay.
Let it happen.
I'm good with
Okay,
that.
the only thing I'll change then is the parenthetical on residency, or do you want to?
Yes.
Okay.
Please change that.
Yeah, I think we're there. Michael, you have your hand up, though.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Ray.
Okay. Oh, how is the public gonna know that one of the things we're considering is just the nomenclature of this commission?
They'll find out.
And not just them.
It's not me. People are watching right now. They watch the recorded. They see the agenda. They watch the recorded. They take our clips. They put it on the social media sites. People show up and comment.
Yeah.
So if there's some other way that you want to get out,
No, I just wanna make sure we have a good inputs.
right?
Yeah.
So,
One thing,
and not just
when
I
Kylie
could-
presents it, she
Well,
could,
and I could also, in the agenda bill, I could write up that the council is considering this specific issue. Is this the only one now? Because I mean, we did have a couple, and now we're down to one.
yeah, I want to circle back to that. So okay, I think we had majority on the language for, except for qualified
Eric
language,
changed
yeah.
his vote, but that doesn't matter.
But so it doesn't even, there's no voting. This is a straw poll.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think,
like-
may I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Okay. So the one thing, is there anything besides, and this is not, I'm sorry, I'm probably taking, Is there anything else besides the name of it that we are?
That's where I'm getting to.
Okay.
Sorry, so one
just
thing.
wanted to clarify
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm trying to get to. Yeah. That's enough, more, but faster we're done. Sorry. Okay, so I think we're good on that. The language on the qualified, the one issue of if we get an application that, you know, like the mayor's not
I thought we were
comfortable to
just
bring
gonna-
forward.
Yeah, I thought we were just gonna leave it without
As is,
that and
okay.
change it if we needed to, like we did an audit.
Down the road. Okay, all right, so we're good there. All right, so we got the title issue, that's taken care of. I think we got public comment issue. And then there was one other that we talked about last week.
Powers and duties specific for general, and I think we went with.
Oh, that's
general.
right, that was, I think, not for, okay. So for next week, folks good with, so leave the title, so you recommended leave the title as is, but.
Yeah, I was just, the only thing I was gonna change after, but from what you're seeing right now is the parenthetical. And then I'm gonna leave everything left, and then I can put in the agenda bill, something to the effect that the council is,
Logos public comment.
Yeah.
Public comment on these issues or something
Do
like
a
that.
public hearing only, okay, or a public comment only, no action.
I need to ask a question. That's my turn. And that is, I don't want to give you this question now, so you don't have to answer this now, but maybe for next Wednesday, so I'm not blindsiding you with this. You have a race equity commission, and they meet, and they bring up other issues such as sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, gender identity, religion, language, age, marital status, veteran status, mental abilities and disabilities, which all fall under common term of diversity. Are you allowed to talk about them since you're just the race equity commission? In other words, it's obvious that diversity is more inclusive. And I think what I'm hearing on the counterpoint is by including all these others, you're watering down the race portion. But my question is, can this commission meet on these other issues? And if that's the case, can they meet on any other issue too?
No, so I would say that that's where you get into the powers and duties. So with the, so if you look at the purpose statement like in 101 on the outset, it's to advise the city council and mayor by applying a race equity analysis to all aspects of governance to maintain engagement with and accountability to other work being done throughout the Bremerton community in service of race equity.
Yeah, so it's just race.
It's
Okay.
And I think what Quinn was trying to say is that there's intersectionality. And
exactly.
it's people who have disabilities that is, you know, there's also a portion of those people for which what race is, you know, there's race is the one that, you know, there's women of color, there's people with disabilities of color, and that if you address race, then you can, you know, help a lot of people. But that was, I don't want to paraphrase Quinn, but that was,
You can
He said it at great
absolutely,
length.
you can absolutely talk about, right? You can absolutely talk about disability, you know, all these other things that you mentioned in the context of the racial equity lens. Absolutely, those topics can be brought up. 100%.
They have to be though racial related. So there has to be
racial
an
equity.
intersectionality.
right, so like it's.
Well, I mean, there doesn't have to be. They can talk about whatever, you know, but
Well, the advice, I mean, the purpose of the committee is not going to be, like, for example, talk about like ADA access and, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
and so like if they, you know, what would happen if they did? And I mean, it would be like, the advice is that they give the council or the mayor is only going to be, or, you know, what the people put on it. I mean, I guess if they started advising on other issues, I mean, it's just, it's against the purpose statement, but
this may not be germane, but maybe we just need to create a gender equity committee.
Do you know that the county of Kitsap has never had a commission on the status of women?
Oh.
Never. Never.
At this point, may I suggest that we leave public comment to the public and await it with open arms
Yes.
and do everything we can to say, come and comment to us.
Yeah.
We will bring cookies.
Yeah, there's a.
yeah,
Except, yes, Ann, but the start of this was Eric's question. question on the legality of what the commission can be able to address. So I want to make sure we finish that
Serious
question.
question. I'm gonna ask it next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's a very.
I think I understand your answer, but I really think by doing that, why would accept public comment? But I really think you want to have as a broad a scope as you can, and the DEI gives you that broader scope than the race equity. It makes sense to me, but.
Yeah. Going back and forth,
Yeah.
real quick, is
Yeah.
just like, in
Having fun yet?
in work we've done, for marriage equality and, lifting the military ban and things like that, like, you work with allies, you work
Mhm.
with other groups to move your cause. And,
You don't leave them behind.
yeah.
All right, so I think let's go to, move it along here. All right, so we'll do public input only, no action anticipated next week. If that's, I'm seeing no consensus for that. Okay, good. So put that on there, leaving it as is, except for the strikeout on the parenthetical. And I just want to summarize of like, I know folks are watching, like, thank you, everybody who's watching,
Yeah.
for your input. This is not, it's not easy. If this was easy, it'd be done. So just thank you for everyone for the really, I'm going to say like heartfelt open comments. This requires open discussion. It requires grace. It requires a lot of talking. So just thank you to everybody. So we'll get this on for input only. And that will close up our briefings on agenda bill items. All right.
And it's only 8:34.
That's right. All right, Council, how are we feeling? Do we need a
I think
short
you
break?
need to understand, 8:30 is nothing. We've had meetings
True.
till 9.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
I would like to,
Short break?
no, I would like to move forward with my
Power through.
report.
Let's do it.
All right.
I'll make it. Can we move forward with our reports and be done?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really,
All
my
right.
son is coming in on the ferry.
Perfect. All right.
There's overtime.
All right, let's move on. General council business, item C1. Finance, Investment, and Parking Committee Chair Jennifer Chamberlain provide a summary of the meeting from March 28th.
I have no, I do have a small thing. We covered, a lot of our discussion was with Miss Monroe, so we covered all of that. And then at our next meeting, we're going to be having, kind of getting ready for our mid-year budget review.